Smiley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Thursday, August 12th. So the moon is going to be in Libra all day, and this is going to be a beautiful opportunity for us to go ahead and rebalance the scales within, to get our heart and head on the same page, to see where it is that things got a little bit extreme, especially since that new moon in Leo energy peaked, and where it is that we kind of lost ourselves and fell off the wagon while we've been navigating some very difficult thoughts, feelings, and energies since that new moon energy. We have a lot of very beneficial aspects taking place for us here today. 9 moon aspects out of 11. This is going to bode very well for us to get a little bit of a solid footing back, which of course we haven't had in, I'm going to say, at least a week or so. We've had moments of stability, but they've been followed by some very dramatic situations of instability, reminding us where it is we need to kind of take control back, where it is we need to work very hard in our emotions and in our mental plane to find a solid footing once again. So the moon in Libra is going to go ahead and make an aspect with the sun in Leo. This is going to be a little bit of a tension point, not a huge point of tension, but it is going to illuminate for us the old versus the new, especially our habits, our thinking patterns, our behaviors, where it is that we have to be very mindful about the new energy that we want to bring in, the new actions we want to take, the new ways of thinking, the new ways of acting as the observer, compared to the old habitual patterns that we definitely have recognized right now we have to bust out of because they weren't working for us. Now, this likely will create a little bit of an inner conflict because, of course, the moon and the sun, they were just together while the new moon in Leo took place, and now they're kind of moving away from one another. This particular aspect highlighting the old versus the new, highlighting where old habits have to die in order for the new ones to be able to root, is going to create a little bit of anxiety inside of us because we're in unfamiliar territory. We're trying new things that we haven't tried before. And especially to get a grip on our emotions and on our mental plane, it's going to require us to try new things, to take a different tactic, to recognize where it is that we can't react and where it is that we have to act as the observer. So the sun in Leo goes ahead and bumps into the true node. This is beautiful. This is a point of an aha moment coming through, a point of genius for us to say, oh, wow, I didn't realize that. Especially because the inner conflict that we just had between the moon and the sun, highlighting for us where we have to separate the old from the new. Now the sun in Leo aligning with the true node in Gemini, this is brilliance. This is like something that we now have seen, a perspective shift that we can't unknow from here. This is pushing us to really attach to the new things that we have to try out to create more distance and space between the old patterns, the old habits, the old ways of thinking that we just got illuminated to. The sun in Leo is pushing us forward, again, giving us that passion, that desire to try new things. Why? Because we really want that dream that we just concocted. We really want to bring that vision into reality, and that's going to require us to boss up. It's going to require us to take some risks. It's going to require us to operate from a new perspective. And this is definitely the aha moment that we need in order to recognize where it is that we need to lean all the way into the new and create a lot more distance between us and the old. The moon goes ahead and trines the true node in this particular moment, and this is a good thing because the moon in Libra wants us to find peace and harmony in balance. Now that aha moment we just had, this is going to give us an opportunity to rework the past, to look at the old and say, oh, okay, I know why I acted that way. I was acting out of fear, or I was acting out of vulnerability. I was acting out of anger or uncertainty. And having that connection means that now we have a choice to make. We can continue to act from those negative, lower vibrations, or we can step into those higher vibrations and evolve. We can grow from here. Once we make the connection on why we were motivated to act and think and feel from a certain perspective, then we have the awareness to make that choice in every single moment that we are faced with. Are we going to react from ego or act from our higher selves? Now, Mercury, who is now in his place of power in Virgo, makes an aspect with Pluto. This is a positive aspect. This is going to really show us where it is now that we can boss up and rewrite the narrative. This is almost a point of mental mastery because we recognize now, making the connection that we just did to our past selves, why we acted that way, why we felt and thought that, and now we have the opportunity to boss up. This is a powerful shift in our mental plane. This is a powerful connection that we just made, an aha moment that we can't unknow. And this is going to really lend us a lot of the positive energy that we've been lacking over the last couple of days, mostly because we were exhausted and depleted in energies. So we have an opportunity now because Pluto, of course, illuminates where it is that we did act in fear, where it is we were insecure, where it is that we were vulnerable, where it is we did give our power away. And now, because Mercury is in his place of power in Virgo, we get to take that mental power back. The moon in Libra makes a very interesting aspect with Mars in Virgo. Now, let me remind you, Mars in Virgo is a little bit restless, a little bit angry because he can't move as fast as he would like. He's not seeing the rewards. He's not seeing the results of the productivity that he has had to been a little bit restrained in actually exerting. Why? Well, let's do a reminder. Mars in Virgo has to be passive, has to be kind of a little bit step back from his usual aggressive self. Mars in Virgo only acts when it's logical and practical, when it's thought out, strategic, calculated, and is only going to be useful in getting us closer to where it is that we want to be. So the moon in Libra, kind of making this aspect with Mars in Virgo, this is likely going to bring up some tension and likely outside of us from external triggers. We just kind of got a very powerful situation going on in our mental plane and our heart space from realizing our old selves compared to the new self that we are trying to align with. But now we're going to be triggered by the universe. Why? Because we have to see whether or not we've actually grown, whether or not we've actually evolved. And this aha moment that we just had, now we need to be tested. Are we going to be able to tap into the new tools, the new resources, the new perspective, the new way of acting? Or are we going to fall victim to old past patterns and behaviors? Now, this is really going to determine for us where it is that we're at on our healing journey, because Mars in Virgo right now wants to act on his feels, but he's frustrated and he's moody and he's restless. And he's aggressive, but he's not allowed to show that he's aggressive. And that can really push us to a breaking point. Again, this is a test for us to see, are we going to react from ego or act as the observer from our higher self? The moon in Libra goes ahead and makes a positive aspect with Uranus, who is in Taurus, who, like we discussed, is now in the pre-shadow period of him going retrograde. This is going to identify for us, inside of us, what it is that we need. This is likely going to show us where it is that we need freedom, where it is that we need to feel not so restricted, not so held back, not so triggered by outside events. This is going to be a positive opportunity for us to receive some insight from cosmic intelligence. This is a positive opportunity for us to attach to our higher selves, to receive gut reactions, intuitional insight on what it is that we need to do from here. And the moon in Libra trines Saturn, who gives us the emotional control that we absolutely need over ourselves to be triggered in our external worlds in such a way, forcing us inward to really decide, are we going to go back to old ways of doing things, old ways of reacting, or are we going to align with our higher self and try something new? Saturn, although, normally very kind of harsh on us, gives us a lot of confidence right now to see the life lesson, to see the challenge, to see the opportunity to boss up, and for us to actually take it. Again, the moon in Libra just wants peace, just wants harmony, just wants to feel stable and balanced. And of course, Saturn, who is retrograde in Aquarius, is kind of rewriting the script on the inside of us on how it is that we're thinking, how it is that we're feeling, how it is that we are going to attach to our higher self to see the greater, grander vision at play, and how it is that we're going to rewrite the inner narrative that we need in order to bust us away from repeating old patterns and behaviors and push us to really see where it is that we can really see a huge amount of progress take place, not only in the way that we feel, not only in the way that we think, that the way that we are going to act to external triggers. Now, the moon goes ahead and sits across from Chiron, who is retrograde in Aries. So as we've kind of been discussing, Chiron retrograde in Aries wants our inner spiritual warrior to boss up, to see where it is that we are given opportunities each and every single day to heal those egoic identity wounds that we have grown up with. And this is a perfect opportunity, especially from the energies that we've just moved through, to see where we 100% are capable of stepping out of the old conditioning and stepping into the new. Now, is this going to be fluid? Absolutely not. It's going to feel like salt in the wound. We have the moon in Libra, which is more concerned about making other people happy than ourselves. But we have Chiron in Aries, who's only concerned about ourselves. So there is this push and pull here. And especially where we had an earlier outside external trigger ask us, really test us to see whether or not we're going to stick with the old ways of doing things or whether we're going to boss up and really align with the new. And at this particular aspect, we have an opportunity to heal old conditioning, old behaviors, old ways of thinking, old ways of feeling. Yes, it's going to illuminate the negative Nancy narrative. Yes, it's going to trigger our insecurity and our worth. Why? Because every single time we take a step forward and we boss up, you best believe something's going to happen where the negative and darker forces are going to trigger us to say, oh, I see you're progressing. I see you're evolving. We don't want that. We want to suck you back into this toxic pattern of beating yourself up and not feeling worthy. So that's going to be a huge struggle for all of us because this moon in Libra opposing this fiery energy of Chiron retrograde in Aries, we really are going to take that one step forward and then take those two steps back. Here's the thing though. The moon in Libra goes ahead and makes a not so nice aspect with Jupiter. And you know what happens when Jupiter is not on the positive side of things. He puts a huge magnifying glass on all of the negative that we're thinking and feeling. So if you find yourself slipping into those darker energy forces where that negative narrative comes back, where you're questioning whether or not you should have bossed up earlier, where you're questioning whether or not you have what it takes to stay strong, to stay aligned with your higher self, this particular aspect is going to take it too far because it's going to amplify whatever energy that Chiron kind of triggers us in, and that can be very detrimental to what was a very good, positive, powerful start to the day. Now, again, we're focused on bossing up. We should have bossed up, but now we're being sucked back. Now we're really hammering ourselves for slipping into the darkness, for having those negative thoughts, for reacting out of old habits and patterns, for not being the spiritual warrior that we should have been in that moment. And of course, we're just breaking ourselves down. The moon in Libra, though, makes an aspect with Uranus. And Uranus, as you know, has the ability to shift our perspective in a split second. And this isn't the best energy for the moon in Libra and Uranus in Taurus to make. However, it's another learning opportunity. It is another split second of perspective shift where we recognize things got a little bit out of control there, where we slipped way too far in the darkness, where we recognize, yeah, it's a little bit crazy and chaotic trying to do new things in the moment where we're being activated and triggered by old situations, old topics, old themes. We have to remember we are just adapting to these new timelines, these new soul contracts, and it's going to require us to cut the cord and purge the old and to create a space for the new. Now, this week is where we get tested. And right now we're being tested on, are we going to stand up for ourselves, rebel against, the old part of ourselves, our old way of thinking? This is like an inner conflict between the heart and the head, because we had a realization earlier on in the day that there is a division between the old and the new. And we need a little bit more time to create a lot more space in between the old self and the new self so that it is a little bit easier to act as the observer, tap into the higher self instead of being sucked back into the old reactive state that we've gotten too comfortable in. So the moon in Libra goes ahead and semi-squares Mercury in Virgo. This is really going to put a huge emphasis on the narrative that we're allowing to run in our head. And as you can see, as we flow through the day, we are kind of ending off on a negative Nancy note. The good thing about this is that the moon in Libra wants to show us extremes in order for us to find that grounding point, that center point, that balance point. Mercury in Virgo, again, powerful placement here, is really turning the volume up in our mental plane to analyze, why do we do this? Why are we conditioned this way? Where did this come from? Why do I feel like this? Why am I talking to myself in this way? Why is Nancy a bigger personality in my head than I want her to be? And it does give us a perfect opportunity, if the universe gives you an opportunity with an external trigger, to communicate our feelings. But here's the thing, and I'll give you a very, very good caution here. We likely will retreat back to our old sense of self. We will likely be stuck in the old narrative, looping around that obsessive compulsive thought and behavior. Yes, Mercury is very powerful while in Virgo, but we have to remember that Virgo energy, highly judgmental on oneself, super critical of oneself, and analyzes everything right to death. And if we are operating from a negative energy, you best believe that Mercury in Virgo has every opportunity to break us down, rip us apart, and make us feel absolutely horrible. Just remember, those are the lower vibrational frequencies that are testing you, and at this particular point are 100% winning. Now, does this mean that we just have to throw in the towel and go to bed? Well, depending on how your day is unfold, that might be the smartest thing to do. This energy isn't forever. It's just testing us right now. We're still trying to adapt to these new energies, and we're not very comfortable and firmly planted in them as of yet. This is going to be a tug of war between old and new, light and dark, good and bad. And we have multiple opportunities every single day to choose what energy we're going to allow to actually manifest within us.